So members would have heard the motion. Those in favor? Against? Continuation of the State of the Nation debate. Dr. Sapphire Longmore. Senator Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for your warm welcome. I also take the opportunity to wish the House and persons in attendance, my colleagues, and Jamaica at large, a very happy New Year and the beginning of this, a very critical year in Jamaica's history, I think. I am very grateful to be making this presentation in the Senate. This is my 8th State of the Nation, and as Senator Scott Motley alluded to just now, we don't know what the future holds, and so this might be very well my last. And so I will give it a good try. I want to give thanks, of course, to the universe and the Almighty for sparing me yet another opportunity such as this to be here and to serve Jamaica in this way. My family, my little son Neo, that's my last one, he's present. Hi Neo. All right, last year my other son Axel was here and now it's Neo. Diana, my friend and my stalwart at home, my friend Yacolet, and Christine. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Of course, my parents, my father, my mom who is on the other side, my brother, and my family at large, my colleagues in psychiatry and in healthcare, and of course, my colleagues here. I sincerely appreciate your energy and your support as always. Mr. President, I am about brand Jamaica, and that's what it's about. I want to also give a special thanks and shout out because this year I decided I was going to go brand Jamaica all out. This is a design by Heather Lane, who I said, you know, I'm going to showcase brand Jamaica. And so I want to thank Heather Lane and her boutique for this fabulous outfit, demonstrating what brand Jamaica is capable of. I didn't have to wear Prada or Armani or anything like Calvin Klein or anything. Heather Lane. Mr. President, I have to thank the Prime Minister and team that has steered us through so many rough seas and rough waters. Mr. President, it is not just us who are appreciative of the Prime Minister. We see here, the Miami Herald, how Jamaica and its Prime Minister are becoming a mini superpower in the Caribbean. And this is true. Mr. Crawford, Senator Crawford, the theme of my presentation is Know Thyself. And I know Jamaica to be a superpower. We're little, but we're very tall. You're seeing Bob and so much more of our elements can say that. Even not Damian Crawford in my own way. All right? But Mr. President, and so yes, I have to thank the Prime Minister and his team for affording me yet another opportunity to be here serving in this way. I said I was going to speak, and my prowess is healthcare delivery. I have known this as Senator Golden Campbell, who we were in the same medical class together, actually. And today being Senator Fitzhenley's birthday, happy birthday, Abka. We were commenting that we are no longer the youngest in the room when it comes on to certain things. And I remember when I started medical school, I was 17 years old, and Senator Golden Campbell was there, but she decided to go a different path. And I say this, Mr. President, because healthcare is natural to me. It is the only job I've known, and so I'm going to speak to it today. I think that it is not just because of my experience on the side of being the healthcare provider, but as you all know, I have been a patient. I have had to receive the helping hands of many. And even then, I was here in the Senate. And I remember those days, Senator Scott Motley. I remember those days, Senator Kamina Johnson. And I appreciate them. And so I will be speaking not just from the end of dispensation, but from the end of receiving. And so it spurred me with that awareness to go on and recognize that we have significant achievements and accomplishments in healthcare. But I had to go back and reflect, because at the end of the day, we have complaints that are coming out each and every day. We get that in our system. And I reflected on an article that was written in 2015 by then candidate aspirant Dr. Shane Alexis. And I went to that because Dr. Alexis is a colleague and a companion of mine, in the sense that we're both healthcare trained who sought to deliver politically. And so he wrote an article, and I will quote, "The Minister of Health is the ultimate decision maker in the Ministry of Health. However, this was changed under the current structure, and the CMO reports to the Chief Operating Officer or Permanent Secretary." Mr. President, he goes on to say that the role of the PS should be to ensure that the technical team's policies are supported administratively, financially, and operationally. The reporting relationship that was once horizontal is now vertical, which now places administrative power over technical power. Is it that non-medical concerns have superseded medical or technical advice? Delivery system of admin-heavy structure, taking decision-making of patient care out of the hands of those actually trained for such. And Mr. President, I say this because what I'm recognizing, having practiced medicine for almost, and I'm going to age myself, but almost 30 years, yes, because don't do the math. I am recognizing, and this is not just in Jamaica, one of the issues when we seek to know ourselves is that we need to know the population that we serve. And we have a tendency of adapting mechanisms of delivery of service that works in other jurisdictions that have a different population, that have a different structure, that has different resources. And so I remember when healthcare used to be the doctor with them shingle hang up, and you go in and you select your doctor, etc. I'm not saying that that is what we must go back to. But Mr. President, I want us to recognize that when it comes on to some of our very technical sectors, healthcare, education, agriculture, finance, the best finance minister that Jamaica has seen is somebody trained in finance. Essentially, the person, the technocrat who knows the business, knows how to manage the business efficiently and effectively. And we have an issue where sometimes when we see a problem out in the community, we have to wait for the technocrats to relate to the administration what the issues are, backed by reports, etc., etc. The technocrats know because we're trained in it. So, Mr. President, I'm here to relate that we need to know our needs and we need to contemplate a paradigm shift with how we relate to the services that we deliver to our people. And one of that consideration, Mr. President, and I know in healthcare, that the best administrator is a person who is trained in healthcare, who is then trained in management and administration. And it is not impossible. And I want us to consider who usually has that experience. That experience comes from, that's not where I'm going, Senator Brown. My purpose is to help Jamaica, not myself. And so I am proposing that we consider in the fact that our population is aging. And a lot of persons, when they reach the stipulated retirement years, they are in their prime. They have a wealth of knowledge. And that is when our system seeks to remove them. That is when we need to be relying on them, Mr. President. That is when we need to find roles of guidance and capacity building for persons who are at that age and stage and experience in their field to be made significantly useful in the management of our system. And I see this especially in healthcare delivery. Some of our best doctors who know without any need for reference, because this is what we are trained to do. We don't have to wait on the reports to come. When we see the issue at hand, we know how to dispense the solutions. And so, Mr. President, I remind us, the system that was had came in under the opposition, then government. And I saw it is embedded. But I understand that the world was shifting that way. But there are many movements that are happening in the world, Mr. President, and we need to take heed and recognize what Jamaica needs for Jamaica. And with that, Mr. President, I have up there a study recognizing, measuring the efficiency of health systems in Asia and economies that are similar to ours. And the conclusion is that the results of this analysis showed inefficiency of the health systems in most of the Asian countries and imply that many countries may improve their health systems efficiency using the current level of resources. Let me underscore that. Using the current level of resources. The identified inefficient countries could pay attention to benchmarking their health systems within their income group or within similar types of health systems. Mr. President, this is what we inherited. The good Minister Tufton, who is very efficient and seeks to address the health needs of the people he serves. He has made significant inroads. 140.3% increase in the health budget over the past 8 years. 140.3, recognizing the need for resources. It is recognized that $60.15 billion was the current expenditure, and capital spending of $4.68 billion. Mr. President, we have seen an increase in the cadre of workers from 2,089 now in establishment. In addition, 4,741 nurses and 2,210 community health aid. Major increases over 2016, Mr. President. At the time, so we are now at 2,089 doctors. 2016 was 1,500. We were at 4,000, we're now at 4,741 nurses. In 2016, it was 4,669. Community health aides, we are at 2,210. In 2016, it was 893. Mr. President, health center upgrades, $570 million has been allocated to upgrade 45 health centers across Jamaica. UWI has had significant input, seeking to ensure that it remains the premier Caribbean and regional diagnostic facility that it is, and curative. New diagnostic equipment includes the UA nuclear SPECT, which is one of them very mega spectrometer machines that helps with diagnosis, isotope ultrasound interventional suite, MRI, 1.5 digital mammogram, CT gamma camera for nuclear medicine, CT scanners, surgical navigation system in the brain lab, echocardiograms, surgical microscope, and digital X-ray systems. That's a very big deal, Senator Bryan. We have moved to have health information systems in place, modernizing for access of our people, and can I find the docket? 104 health facilities that are part-managed network service contracted with Cable and Wireless, which is now Flow, I think. To date, 85 facilities have internet services installed, while 47 have computers and networks installed. Mapen Hospital, and I have to mention it because homegrown, has fully digitized patient records. Mr. President, you have to understand why this is important. Even though I know as practitioners, it can be difficult to adjust to the new system, but it makes a huge difference in some of those diagnoses. When you can't find the patient docket, when you can't find the lab results, and at the click of a button, you're now able to do so. Significant efficiency, Mr. President. Jamaica keeps moving, with interventions at over 100 schools, facilitated at least 20 major executions, engaged over 300 schools. The value of physical health, healthy eating, because Jamaica Moves has also now incorporated other things like the diet, the health screens, etc., moving Jamaica along a healthier option. The Know Your Numbers program, Mr. President, 122,000 screenings in blood pressure, blood sugar, body mass index, and cholesterol, eye screening, sexual and reproductive health, oral health screenings. Mr. President, most of the Jamaicans who were screened for these conditions did not even realize that they had health debilitating situations. And so they were then sent on to private or public facilities for the resolution of these. Second Chance Smiles, Mr. President, over 2,000 Jamaicans with new dentures. We can smile about it. Mr. President, we might underestimate the value of a smile, but it goes a far way, especially in our young people who essentially, they themselves don't, it is so limiting at times. And what the difference that a smile can make. It's the self-esteem, Mr. President. They will target 8,000 this year at a value of over $60 million, Mr. President. You don't know how that little effect can magnify in that individual's life. The New Limb, New Life program, Mr. President, 58 Jamaicans benefited from lower limb prosthesis at a cost of $24 million. You know, we have to give thanks for the things that we can do. All of us in here are mobile on our own. Senator Morris, Professor Morris, you can attest to this, the difference that a prosthetic limb can make to an individual. And we have 58 of such persons benefiting $24 million, Mr. President. Code Care program was intended to clear the backlog of surgeries back in COVID. To date, 1,588 surgeries have been corrected. Hernias, hysterectomy, prostate, cataracts, pterygiums, 79% of those cases, Mr. President, were waiting over a year. Code Care. And what I like about this is that there was a partnership with private practitioners to also clear that backlog. So it is dually beneficial. Support for cervical cancer and other screenings, Mr. President. All Jamaican female residents who are 21 years and over will receive a subsidy to help cover the cost of a pap smear. I don't know how many of us know that. All Jamaican females over 21. This subsidy is to be offered at $1,300 per test in keeping with the screening guidelines. Currently, sir, it was $0 before subsidy. It is now $1,300 subsidy. The NHF, Mr. President, also, yes, it varies, as I said, as per screening guidelines. The NHF also now subsidizes for the PSA tests to all male NHF card holders over 40 years old. $1,600 for a PSA test each year. So it's not just a one-off thing, because you're supposed to have that screening every year. $1,600 per year subsidized. And that is now expanded to all male residents over 40 years. So it's not just the NHF card holders. Excuse me. The Jamaica Eye Care Program, 570 cataract surgeries, 352 pterygium, 899 laser surgeries for diabetic retinopathy, 81 laser surgeries for cataract, and 6 surgeries for glaucoma. Mr. President. Our health centers, as I mentioned before, Mr. President, work in progress currently. I mentioned what was allocated. 18 health centers across the 4 regions, $970 million, Mr. President. The Adopter Clinic program has seen 10 additional adoptions in the past year, with 47 clinics now being adopted and a value of over $200 million committed, Mr. President. It's here. With the diaspora and local donors partnering for the betterment of Jamaicans here. And Mr. President, one of the issues that I come across is a lot of persons from the diaspora reaching out to me to make donations. Donations of usually equipment or items for at-risk youth, etc. And I'm happy to relate that there is the National Healthcare Enhancement Foundation that sees to such donations, because there's usually a lot of intricacies that are involved. Custom duties and maintenance of equipment, etc. So I want to announce here that don't necessarily direct the request to myself. The National Healthcare Enhancement Foundation is established and has a significant role in seeing to such. Mr. President, 900 doctors, over 900 doctors now have a permanent job. No longer contract to contract to contract. This is significant, Mr. President, in terms of job security and ensuring our skilled, highly skilled workers remain with us. Over 900. Mr. President, I have up there the recipients of the Barwint Memorial Scholarship, Mr. President. Over $2.5 billion over 5 years is being spent to educate our own Jamaicans in fields that are critical to the care of our people. Nursing, medicine, public health, medical technology, epidemiology, health records management, hospital healthcare management, information systems for health, pharmacy, dentistry, and health economics. Like I said, Mr. President, this is a push towards enabling persons who are technically trained to see to administration. It will see to efficiency and effectiveness in the delivery of our services.
How many is it? How many
2.5 billion over 5 years. I think it is over 200 recipients.
Isn't it closer to 700?
700. I'm trying to be modest. Yes. Okay, so you want to say 3. 1 column times 200 times 200 over 600, 3. Mr. President, I now move to my field, mental health. And, you know, I have come in here, and everybody knows me for my advocacy in mental health. Excuse me? Yes, because he knows that I'm competent, and that's fine. That's okay. He can come and talk to me anytime. I'm here for him too. Mr. You know, I will always have a hug for Senator Brown. Mr. President, the truth of the matter is mental health care has always been that forgotten child in healthcare. And like I said, I'm here speaking truths. The fact of the matter is we have a significant disconnect with the needs and the resources. But separate from that, there is a significant issue around the acceptance of mental health care. A significant part of the mental health budget for Jamaica goes to the Bellevue Hospital. And what is happening there? Almost, it was at one time over 3,000 patients. Now, it is just over 700. The significant majority of which are persons who are abandoned by their families. This is the truth of what we're dealing with. It is not a matter of a lack of will, but the fact is that we're dealing with a situation where it can be costly to care. The consequences can be significant in terms of if someone is not healthy, the damage that can be done is significant. And so persons also don't understand it, and so they shy away from it. The truth of the matter is, Mr. President, when you have a Capri report in 2021 relating that only 8% of the mental health needs of children are being met, you are going to have consequences down the road. That is the truth. And what we need to do is seek to tailor solutions that can effectively address en masse some of these situations. Mr. President, Dr. Earl Wright, a very noted psychiatrist in his field here, he asked me specifically, please, Sapphire, underscore the importance of the first 3 years of life. Underscore that this critical period plays a significant role in shaping the outcomes, not just related to mental health issues, but to public health, to societal issues, to the prevention of non-communicable diseases, to reducing violence, Mr. President. Consider the scaling up of early childhood stimulation and parenting programs to reach the critical mass of the Jamaican population. Mr. President, such efforts, I have multiple times spoken about the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences. And I will also relate, Mr. President, one positive influence in a child who has the consequences of the ACEs deal with it, whatever trauma, one positive influence, that one positive influence can be the state, can turn around that child's life, Mr. President. Senator Brown, why are you taking my picture? Mr. President, you're going to get some other pictures soon. Mr. President, I had forgotten to bring up this picture here. That in the efforts of securing the staffing, the careers, the much needed skill sets in the health sector, I am bringing up the expo that is happening next week for us to try and educate and pull persons into this very vital field of care. One of the issues why that Capri report has, one of the issues, is that an alarm? Oh, already?
Yeah. The speaker's time has expired.
Expired. May I ask that it be extended to allow her to complete her presentation?
Question is to allow the speaker to continue with sufficient time. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. Proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. Yes, no, one of the critical reasons why that Capri report relates the inefficiency of only 8% of the mental is because we don't have the staff. We don't have the personnel for the need that is out there. So that is one of the responses to address that need. Mr. President, that is the early childhood situation. I want to bring us now to the other age group that we have concerns about, our teenagers. Mr. President, yes, I have a preteen there. Mr. President, the age of the teen years, Erik Erikson, famous psychologist, the teen years are about identity versus confusion. It is when a child is seeking to know who they are. They're trying to explore the subjects that they like in school, the food that they like, the company that they like, their sexuality, the hobbies that they like. That's what the teen years is about. The career they want. And it is also critical to have balance in those years. And what we're seeing, Mr. President, and I'm going to tie this back later on in my presentation. When you have a family structure that is broken, when you have, unfortunately, usually an absent father or a father who is intermittently present, especially for boys, Senator Dixon Morris, I know you recently brought this, especially for boys, there is a literal loss of identity. They are seeking, and if there is no guidance, they are going to sway to what is available. Hence the gangs. You see the uptick. Where you see the fall off in schools, you see the uptick in the judiciary, in the justice system. You see it in the diversion programs. And Mr. President, we have to recognize this need. Our youth need to know who they are. Know thyself, Mr. President. I want us to recognize, Mr. President, that the issues that I brought here is a slide. This first one is showing you that teen substance use, and this is in the US because we don't have the current data, and I wanted to bring what is current because we tend to reflect the same. teen substance use, especially with alcohol, is actually trending down in the US. But we may celebrate this, but I want us to also recognize the next. Australia passes landmark social media ban for those under 16. I'm not saying that we must adapt, but I want us to recognize that one of the reasons the kids are not drinking or using substances as much is because they're not socializing as much. They are actually being asocial because of the consumption online. And there's a lot of kids out there who are actually quite lonely. Actually quite lonely. That's one of the reasons Australia banned. And I'm not saying that we must consider these extremes, but we must find a balance. And what I'm saying to us is that we must also remember as parents to guide our children in the virtual space. Provide the guidelines for your child in that virtual space because it can be dangerous for them. We have had suicides. A child, a 13-year-old, not here in Jamaica, a 13-year-old, in a relationship with an AI girlfriend, took his own life because he thought in doing so he'd be with her in the AI world. Lonely adults. So, Mr. President, I'm trying to focus. And, Mr. President, I'm going to also bring to the attention that when someone is grounded in who they are, being alone does not necessarily mean that you are lonely. And we need to teach our children this. We need to teach them resilience within themselves, that they don't have to fear. That is when you sometimes find out who you are. And so, Mr. President, I think that there needs to be that paradigm shift with respect to our children and how we see them in our society. We need to move from a place of punishment orientation to protection orientation. Recently, and you know, I speak on these, Senator Dixon Morris, because it is my charge as a psychiatrist. The fact of the matter is, when we see our children being turned out from school because of their hairstyle, because of their uniform, let us move away from this, please. The priority is the education of the child. The priority is giving this child a chance to perhaps recognize why that choice was not the right one. But putting them or marginalizing them is not the way to do it. Now, Mr. President, I have on the monitor an article that came out. Senator wants mandatory death penalty for child killers, and I need to take this opportunity to clarify my position here. Mr. President, you know, I honestly, it's hard for me to even speak about Daniel Rowe. It really is. And my position is not based on the fact that I'm not cognizant of the laws of our land. My position is based on the fact that I want meted out to child murderers the most severe punishment we have on our books. The most severe punishment we have on our books. Me no know what needs to happen, but if somebody murders a child, especially in the premeditated way that was, they should not even be considering that they have the chance of seeing sunlight again. We don't enforce, thank you, my friend Christine. We don't enforce the death penalty, I know. But it is still on our books, so make we use it to get the message across. Leave our children alone. Allow them the chance to become the Jamaican citizen that is capable of changing the world. We have had so many examples of this. And Mr. President, you know what also gets me with that case? It brings to awareness that the person who murdered Daniel in such heinous ways is more guaranteed mental health care and other health care than the parents of Daniel. The system is structured where her classmates will probably be living with this trauma for the rest of their lives. Her schoolmates, the security guard, us who watch, stand by and watch. The system is oriented that the murderer is more guaranteed care than those who are directly affected by this situation. We need some paradigm shifts, Mr. President. Mr. President, one of the other, and so yes, I needed to clarify that my position is not because of my ignorance of capital versus non-capital murder or of death penalty not being gender specific, etc. In my mind, man, woman, you kill a child, you get the death penalty. Even if we're not enforcing it, it will. You notice our reaction to hearing the death penalty? We know it's serious. That's what we need to do to these people out there. And so, Mr. President, and of course you have the unique situations of if a child, unfortunately, murders another child. And like we deal with children, a tiered approach based on age would be applied. That's my advocacy. Mr. President, another effort that I did when I was at that time in the ministry, I'm not seeing this slide, but this would have been the concept of resilience. I had spoken to the concept of resilience. This is one of the directions that we are pushing in mental health care. When you have a lot of trauma, when somebody, like a trauma that happens at a school, I think it was a study by Cruikshank et al. 1/3 of the persons will immediately react and show trauma response. 1/3 in about 6 months, it will come, and then another third will probably not be affected at all. One person out of every 10, one person will probably grow from that trauma. Resiliency factors. And so I encourage us in our dispensation of healthcare, especially mental health care, to seek post-traumatic growth as an objective and resiliency factors, especially amongst our children. Another effort, Mr. President, is, if you notice there, government committed to prioritizing mental wellness to tackle violence. Just a simple renaming of mental wellness from mental health. It is an effort to say, give a positive perspective on the situation. Let us push for mental wellness now. Okay, Mr. President, so that's our mental wellness reflected on. Oh, before I go further, Mr. President, I want to just use the platform. One of the significant challenges in direct mental health care is the availability of medications. This is kind of a fallout coming out of COVID. And I just want to use this opportunity to say to persons who are caring for individuals with a mental health condition, please don't wait until the medication runs out. The consequences of someone relapsing is significantly more severe if the person is out of medications and goes on. You may think they're well. No. Touch base with a health center, touch base with a doctor, find out. There can be a substitute that is given. We recognize the situation, but please, if we have persons who are responsive and caring for the individual, the consequences can be significantly less. Mr. President, I will now move to another aspect of healthcare that we sometimes often don't recognize as such. But more and more, I think we're recognizing that food is our medicine. There is a significant gut-brain connection. There's no question about that. And I have spoken already that embryologically, the two are connected. So what we eat literally can determine our mood and our state of mind. And so, Mr. President, I want to recognize that the Agricultural Ministry has earmarked $6 billion to revitalize the sector over the next 6 years. This is important to our health, Mr. President. There is collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Wellness in the Better For You menu, where you're actually seen in a lot of fast food restaurants, the nutrition facts and panels around the content, the nutritional content of food, Mr. President. This is significant for our people. There have been significant investments coming for agriculture this year. Close to $1 billion has been allocated to establish a cold storage facility. Training for agricultural wardens beginning in 2025, Mr. President. We see where Jamaicans are becoming more involved. I celebrate this one. Jamaicans are becoming more involved in backyard gardening. Significant, Mr. President. The message is getting through. And we see where it is projected that agriculture will return to growth post-Beryl in this coming fiscal year, Mr. President. I want to celebrate agriculture in schools, Mr. President. Recognize that this is where it starts. And we have a program that has been started out in Buff Bay Primary School, where the kids have been exposed to innovation and careers in agriculture. Might I suggest that we channel this also in the child diversion programs too, Mr. President. Mr. President, the Eat Jamaican Global campaign is to be expanded, I think in conjunction with the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. And Mr. President, I cannot end on the impact of agriculture with food and food security and the health of our country without reflecting on the potential of my other baby, the mushroom, and the potential for mushrooms as a food source. The portobello, the shiitake. All right, so I'll go into mushrooms now. So I have to present the can I skip this? Okay, I have to present on what is happening in the mushroom space. And I know that there are many people who are wondering. So we have the first article of Harvesting the Psychedelic Renaissance. It is recognized. With Jamaica didn't find gold yet or oil yet, but we have the magic mushroom. The economic potential is huge. Separate apart from that, the impact on trauma and depression and suicide, and especially substance use treatment, is significantly high. This is established. We see where the mushroom concerns, the health ministry issued concerns. We also see another press release coming out from the Psychiatric Association, my own colleagues, expressing caution at the open marketing of the magic mushroom. And the last press release I will share is that from the Jamaica Psilocybin Technical Committee, of which I share, where we basically indicate our commitment to the safe mushroom industry. I won't go into detail, Mr. President, but we recognize the concerns of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the concerns of my colleague psychiatrists, and my responsibility in charting this industry in a way that ensures that it is a safe delivery of something that is beneficial to the people of Jamaica. We are working tediously in doing so, Mr. President. Stakeholders from all across the industry are involved. And we are meeting with the necessary, and I've met with the necessary persons to ensure we get this right. We're recognizing the issues that occurred with cannabis. Jamaica is at the helm of this industry. We cannot lose it. But we must get it right. This is why I tabled that motion in the first place, because I saw the potential for care for patients, but I also see the responsibility in this space. And so, Mr. President, I am declaring that we will ensure that the Ministry of Health and Wellness is at the table in every possible way for us to get this right for Jamaica. Mr. President, that takes me to explain a little bit of what I will go to next. And I'm going to wrap up because I know that we are running out of time. Well, I don't know. I do have a few more pages. Mr. President, you know, I spoke to some of the issues. Our children and what we recognize. Mr. President, yes, it's not so big. And so, Mr. President, I want us to recognize there was a previous video that I don't know if I can press play on this. Okay, so Mr. President, one of the things that I'm trying to get across in terms of the holistic approach to health and spiritual health. I know that most persons, when they say spiritual health, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? It is different from religion. Religion is a form of spirituality. And I'll give you the overview, the actual definition that was had. It is your values and your beliefs, your sense of purpose, your connection to something greater than you, peace and hope, sense of right and wrong. Now, Mr. President, do we recognize that these are the same issues that we're having in our society? These are the same issues. It's a deficit in these very same issues that we're seeing in our schools, that we're seeing crime and violence that is impacting and is like a chain on the ankle of Jamaicans. Let me repeat them. Values and beliefs, sense of purpose, connection to something greater, peace and hope, sense of right and wrong. Our spiritual health, Mr. President, it comes from who we are. The breakdown of the family results in a deficit of that. We need to find ways of fixing that deficit en masse because we were traumatized en masse. And so we need to find solutions en masse. And Mr. President, I know we'll just run, allow me, this is literally 90 seconds long. Let me see if it will play. I don't know what's happening here. I've lost. All right. Well, we'll just go to the next one then. All right, we'll go to the next one. You're interested in the video? Can we press play? All right. I want to show you. Can we, volume please? Press play. So, Mr. President, this is a video that I put together. If we can recognize the connection to our ancestry, but I'm not getting the volume on it, so maybe I should go across.
Not everybody can do the twist, but everybody can do the ska. It's a new dance you can't resist.
So, Mr. President, the purpose of that is to help us to get this type of messaging to our young people. They need to be reminded of their roots. It needs to be a part of our system of delivery of governance. Mr. President, the fact of the matter is we are a strong people, but we keep comparing ourselves to cultures that have the continuity of generations. We don't have that. With that continuity comes a wealth of knowledge. And when I say that we need to have that level of mass engagement, that level of mass therapy, this is one of the avenues, Mr. President, of instilling our people, of reminding our children. I don't know how many of our children knows the name of their grandfather, much less the name of their great-grandfather. You have cultures where that is a part of the child's development. And so, Mr. President, that is why I made the effort. I know it was a risk, but I made the effort to bring this to our attention. And I know the other image is another risk. Big risk, but it is not. Because we are here contemplating serious things this year. And I want for us to have a look at that image. Now, Mr. President, I am not here to critique, to say, talk about the mockery that was made. I'm not here to say that, look at the fact, this is not a color, skin color thing, no. Out of many, we are one people. But Mr. President, for me, it is the decision-making process of someone who is seeking the leadership of this country. My son is there. And when I was preparing this slide, I did not want him to see this because I introduced it to him. I introduced it to him in the right way because in my mind, the leader of the longest black democracy in Jamaica, in the world, should not have the possibility of that image being found. The possibility, whatever made him make that decision to do that, it causes me to question his capacity to make decisions as a leader. I am not talking about skin color. I'm not talking about the fact that he was playing a skit to remove the shackles of the God. No. This is the image that is embedded, that is there now for the world, for every generation. Can you imagine this now? We are going fully into being a republic. And this would be, this or the possibility thereof, and this would be the image that we would have of our Prime Minister? No, no. That is not what I'm arguing, Senator Brown. My argument is the decision-making capacity of someone who already is established to have possible dual allegiance, who is not clearly committed to Jamaica. Mr. President, in knowing ourselves, we must know who we have at the helm of leadership. And I want each and every one of you over there to look at that and without any form of explanation, relate to your children that that is your leader? No. What is wrong with it? Well, Floyd, I understand because you can't see it. And so, Mr. President, I have incited a response because I am hitting truth. I am hitting truth. I am not arguing about that. My argument is the decision to have been caught in such a compromising position. That is my argument. It is none of that. It is the fact that a leader, an aspirant to the office of leading this proud country could be caught in this position. And so, Mr. President, I now go back, I now take it back to knowing ourselves in leadership, Mr. President. We are now comparing, you see? No, darling, no, that is the truth. That is exactly what I'm speaking about. It's okay, Neo. It's okay. Take him outside.
Senator Longmore.
Yes.
Continue.
It's okay. Christine. It's okay, Neo. He's good. Okay. And so, Mr. President, I go now. I'm going to continue, Neo. I'm going to continue with what leadership is. Neo, go, darling, go. No, it is good. It is good. Neo, go, darling, go.
Senator Longmore, you want a break?
No,
That's okay, you're okay?
Yes. Can I just go and check on him?
Yes. Okay, the Senate will stand adjourned for 10 minutes.
No, well,
Go on.
5
minutes, go ahead. 10 minutes, go ahead.
Thank you.
We want you to enjoy the beauty of our island home, and that includes your beaches. That is why we are upgrading at least 9 beaches and equipping them with restrooms and other amenities for your comfort. Jamaica's beaches are your beaches. Your government cares about your recreational environment.
Good things are happening in Jamaica. Our unemployment remains the lowest it has ever been, which means more Jamaicans are working and can provide for themselves and their families. Your government is building Jamaica.
Join the conversation focusing on Jamaica.
This Honourable Senate now resumes its session. Continue, please, Senator Dr. Longmore. I hope that everything is okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. And my son is on his way home. The issue wasn't the content of my presentation, because like I said, I had explained the images to him. It is because it is a long morning for him, and it is usually, you would have had a break and so forth at school and so forth already. So it's the length of the process. Yes, so it is not the content, it is the length of my presentation, or the length of time that he's been in chamber. And so thank you, Senator Golden Campbell, and Senator Dixon Morris, Senator Sophia Fraser-Binns, and Senator Damon Crawford, who came to my assistance directly. Thank you, I appreciate it. And so, Mr. President, as we go, the reason that I brought that to their attention is the fact that we're contemplating leadership. And in that contemplation of leadership, Mr. President, where have we been, and what have we seen of our leadership? A widening of the 20% tax give-back program, Mr. President. Reduction in the general consumption tax on GCT. NWC water bill amnesty. Spark and Reach for your community road repairs. Heart training free up to level 4. NH3 contribution refunds. Social pensions for seniors. Increased general pensions for pensioners. More JUTC AC comfort buses. Jobs, Mr. President, the lowest unemployment rate in the history of Jamaica, Mr. President. Increased minimum wages, permanent employment for government contract workers, like I mentioned, over 8,000 in the Ministry of Education and Youth. Over 8,000, over 900 in health. Employment status for security guards, Mr. President. Social security, tourism workers' pension and broader social pension, Mr. President. Paternity leave, as we speak of the need for our fathers in our children's lives. Unemployment insurance. The debt to GDP ratio, which was previously at 150% when we got the baton, is now at 74%, Mr. President. The custom bill review, reduced duties, $50 so gone to $100 that you can now purchase on online stuff. Duty-free import if you want to bring in now $1,000 instead of 500. Farmer and fisher industry insurance, Mr. President. Prairie larceny under the Anti-Gang Act. Rainwater harvesting facility and irrigation. Fisheries Incentive Program, Criminal Record Rehabilitation Act, Mr. President. Enhanced child diversion for youth offenders and strengthening of mediation options in the justice system. Homeless shelters being built out. Women refuge centers, Mr. President. Renewable energy, 100 megawatts of renewable energy, aiming to have 50% energy source from renewables, Mr. President. Over 300 JUTC buses added to the fleet, Mr. President, and reductions in the fares on JUTC buses. Student loans, no guarantors necessary again, Mr. President. Minimum wage increase. Land titles being distributed, Mr. President. The fact of the matter is, we created over 150,000 new jobs. Over 150,000 new jobs, Mr. President. And I want us to recognize, Mr. President, we recognize that this decision, this election is going to be a serious one. We know that. Recognize the times we're living in globally, Mr. President. Crises are coming after crises. Recognize that this administration, this government, led us through the storms of COVID, was able to navigate our economy when most others crashed. We climbed. We had Beryl last year, Mr. President. It was one of the most efficient management of a disaster, Mr. President, that this country has had. Totally destroyed homes got a grant of $400,000. Severely, $150,000. Minor damage, $50,000, Mr. President. They processed over $1.2 billion in checks. Another $0.2 billion is in process. Assessed over 18,862 applicants, Mr. President, in short order. Partnered with the World Food Program to distribute an additional set of payments through Western Union. Partnered with UNICEF to make additional payments to children under 6 years and those mothers who may be pregnant or lactating on path. Mr. President, the fact of the matter is, we have to make decisions about our leadership based on the fact that crises will come, and we have a proven record of persons who are able to navigate Jamaica through these crises. Mr. President, I'm wrapping up, but there are certain critical elements of healthcare that I must go back to. And in keeping with the theme that I have been trying to convey of knowing ourselves, of recognizing what most people are not sure of, which is that dimension of health that is actually enshrined in our Constitution of sacramental spiritual development. But it is often misunderstood. And I just want to bring this little quote that is here. And one of the most identified spiritual practices is Buddhism. There's a misconception that Buddhism is a religion and that you worship Buddha. Buddhism is a practice like yoga. You can be a Christian and practice Buddhism. I met a Catholic priest who lives in a Buddhist monastery in France. He told me that Buddhism makes him a better Christian. I love that. And that is it, Mr. President. Our spiritual health is not religion in and of itself. It is instilling in us a sense of who we are, our purpose, and belonging to something bigger than us. And I know that Jamaica, the size that we are, we're little but we're taller. You're saying, Bob, our food, our culture can speak to that. And one of the things that I am contemplating, as based on evidence here, more and more medical evidence is showing the value of spirituality in health. It is recognized that there is significant benefit to incorporating spiritual practice at various forms into the healthcare of individuals. And so, Mr. President, on these bases, and I have here, this is a WHO chairman, the head of the WHO, basically indicating in India the declaration around ancestry and the value of ancestry and knowing our ancestry in terms of healthcare delivery. And so, Mr. President, one of the other arms of consideration for Jamaica being Likabot-Witalawa is recognizing spiritual health and the need for it in the dispensation of healthcare in Jamaica. We have the precedent set. This is British Columbia. The Ministry of Health has a spiritual health arm. And this is being caught on across the globe. And so, Mr. President, this is the basis on which I plan to submit my second private member's motion, which I have discussed with the relevant ministers and persons responsible, that we consider the dispensation of spiritual health formally under the Ministry of Health and Wellness as an arm of enhancing healthcare delivery, Mr. President. I think it is needed, I think it is necessary, and I think it could be effective in enhancing the health of our people and addressing especially violence. Now, Mr. President, my last closing is this slide. And in keeping with that knowledge of who we are and where we are, this slide has AI and the other AI, ancestral intelligence. Mr. President, as we progress in this global landscape where the awareness of AI and technology is becoming so very real, I am encouraging and hoping that we keep an awareness of the other AI, our ancestry, who we are, because ultimately that is what will determine what many of us are trying to figure out in terms of the outlook of where AI is going. Let us recognize, Mr. President, that Jamaica is no small island in this global landscape. And the world is looking on in many ways at what we are doing here. And our ancestry is key to determining where we are going in our future. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Longmore. Senator Morris, you have 20 minutes. Senator Morris, of course, you know I'm joking. You are at large to make your presentation. Senator Morris, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues. We have been here for quite a while, and I will try my best to condense this presentation. But, Mr. President, I want to outline, though, that...
Sorry, I noticed. Senator Allen, you're back with us.
I want to outline, though, that my presentation will take a different tone, because I believe that the debate is called the State of the Nation for a reason, and I'm here to speak about the real state of our nation and to speak the truth, nothing but the truth, the whole truth, so help me God. Mr. President, this morning I rise to deliver what might be my final State of the Nation address in this chamber for the life of the Senate. And I do so with a heart brimming with gratitude, pride, and resolve. Serving the people of Jamaica in this capacity has been the honor of a lifetime. A trust placed in me at just 23 years old, a trust I've held sacred with humility. Oh no, you can't say that. Every step of the way, Mr. President. I would like to take the opportunity to once again salute the former leader of the opposition, Dr. Peter Phillips, for entrusting me, a young woman, with this awesome responsibility. And to the current leader of the opposition, Mr. Mark Jefferson Golding, I want to thank him for his faith in me, for granting me the opportunity to serve as spokesperson on youth and civic engagement, and for always lending wisdom and guidance. Mr. President, I've been fortunate to share this chamber with colleagues who have inspired and challenged me. To my Senate family on this side, we have weathered storms together. We have stood resolute in the defense of the people, and we are stronger for it. To the staff of this parliament, your dedication does not go unnoticed, and respect is due to each of you for the long hours that you endure in the service of this country. I promised the police officers outside that I would not take the whole day, so I will seek to stick to my word. And to my village, to my family, to my friends, to my constituents, speaking it into being. I want to welcome a part of my Northwest St. Anne family to the Parliament today. I am so happy that you could be here to hear my State of the Nation, and I want to thank you for all that you do to support the constituency, and I look forward to serving and working with you. Thank you. Yes. Mr. President, as I reflect on my journey, I'm reminded of the powerful words of Langston Hughes, the poet. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Mr. President, too many Jamaicans' dreams have dried up. This is precisely why I'm so grateful for the privilege of representing the people of Northwest St. Anne as of October last year. And as I engage with persons across the constituency, I notice a troubling reality. Their hopes have withered under the weight of broken promises and unfulfilled potential. We see it in their eyes. The farmers, the youth yearning for more opportunities, the single mothers fighting to make ends meet, the elders who rely on a small pension to live with a little dignity in their golden years. And they ask, what about us? And Mr. President, I've walked with them. I've sat in their homes. I've listened to their stories. I carry their burdens in my heart sometimes because I wish I could do more. These are not just numbers on a voter's list. They're family. They're people who have adopted me as their daughter, their granddaughter. And I look forward to being their voice, their representative in this place. Mr. President, I've learned very quickly that representational politics is not about titles or prestige. It is about love, love for people, love for justice, love for the belief that together we can create a Jamaica where dreams are not deferred but fulfilled. Today I stand here resolute with the voices of the Jamaican people resounding in my heart to say that the time for deferral is over. The time for decisive action is now. For change is upon us. People time come. The time has come for the realization of the dreams of our forefathers. The time has come to turn deferred dreams into a brighter reality. Mr. President, Jamaica is a land of extraordinary promise, a nation whose people inspire the world with our creativity, our resilience, our spirit. But beneath the surface of this national pride lies a sobering truth. Far too many Jamaicans are still waiting for their share of this dream. This is a nation, and this is the reality, where falling ill is a curse, not just because of pain, Senator, but because our hospitals are overwhelmed and under-resourced. They have become hotspots of chaos. With all the resources spent in the health sector outlined today by Senator Longmore, people are still dying. People are still sick. Some, as they desperately try to find the comfort of sleep on hard hospital benches or chairs when they should be resting in a hospital bed. They're waiting months for treatment. Their illnesses are getting worse because of the shortage of equipment. Severe outbreaks are denied to protect the optics for the government, while the lives of babies are lost. This is the real state of our nation. This is a nation where food insecurity threatens the survival of our families. Too many parents have to send their children to bed hungry. Damien speaks of it all the time, that too many of our children have to learn on hungry belly. This is the state of our nation. This is a nation where education system is failing too many of our people. Too many youth graduate from schools ill-equipped for the demands of life and work. We know that 30% of our children are leaving primary school unable to read or write, and about 50% do not have basic numeracy nor comprehension skills. And it breaks the hearts of all who cares, because education is one of the most powerful vehicles of social mobility. But this is the state of our nation. After 62 years of political independence, this is not where we should be. It can't be where we want to be. And I take a look at the faces of the people that I meet every day. Their dreams have been deferred, not because they lack ambition or they don't want to achieve them, but because our systems and leaders lack vision and are still gambling with the political will to make real change on behalf of the masses of this country. That is the truth of our nation. We continue to wrestle with the legacies of our colonial past and the burdens of modern mismanagement and corruption. The legacies of colonialism are not just talking points. It is not just a concept. The legacies of colonialism are born out of every day in the Jamaican reality. It is seen in the decision-making of the government and has become particularly stark in the past 9 years. The weight of deferred dreams has become unbearable. It is our moral obligation to now lift it. Decolonization is about lifting that weight. It's not about petty arguments about who is what color. It is about lifting that weight and allowing the country to move towards true freedom as a people. It is about getting out from under low growth, low wage, low productivity, low hope, underemployed, under-resourced reality designed to benefit only a few. Mr. President, when the government speaks of recovery and prosperity, we have to ask, and I always ask, for whom? Because the figures tell a sobering story. Listen to this one, Senator Hill. Over the past years, over the past 5 years, our economic growth has averaged just over 1% annually. Compare this with the aspirations of Vision 2030, which called for sustained growth of 5% per year to achieve a thriving and equitable society. These are not just numbers and economic jargon. When we go to the supermarkets and can't buy the things that we did a year ago with the same amount of money, when we have to choose one bill over the other, and last Christmas dinner they'd have it just regular, that is what a 3.2 contraction in the July to September quarter feels like. It is real. And this administration promised 5 in 4. Yes, we remember 5 in 4. 5% growth in 4 years. But today, up to today, we see no such transformation. Instead, Mr. President, what we have is concentrated wealth. The benefits of growth remain locked at the top, leaving too many Jamaicans behind. And even that is now contracting. What we have is a cost of living crisis. Rising prices for basic food items have forced our families to make impossible and even unhealthy food choices, Senator Longmore. What we have are stagnant wages. Wages have not kept pace with inflation, eroding the purchasing power of working Jamaicans. What we have is economic inequality, which is pervasive. The wealthiest of our population control more than 40% of our nation's wealth, while the poorest continue to struggle to survive. What we have is the job market that is stagnant. Youth unemployment continues to hover at 15%. However, many jobs are failing to provide a livable wage, or even our young people are struggling to find a job after investing so much in their education. You don't want to hear the truth, but I am going to talk it today because this is the state of our nation. What we have is our small farmers. They are struggling.
Mr. President, can you allow my perfect speaker to speak?
Because they don't want to hear the truth, Mr. President. Our small farmers, they are struggling. They are struggling. And the ice makers, they are suffering because we're importing ice. What we have is debt that still looms large. DEATH, both of them. Senator Hill, this is not the vision that we were sold in 2015. We were sold a dream of prosperity. Yet for many, that dream remains deferred. And the promised prosperity keeps escaping the grasp of the ordinary Jamaican. I go back to the words of the poet Langston Hughes, who asks us of a dream deferred. Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? And I can already see the regular trolls on YouTube. Greetings to all of you. The opposition always attack negative. But I dare say that if the positive was outpacing the negative, then we wouldn't be here talking about it. We would be silenced. But many Jamaicans' lives exist with the realities that I am describing. I'm only echoing the thoughts of thousands of Jamaicans who are hoping somebody will speak on their behalf. Worst, Mr. President, this government over the past 5 years has attempted to govern by gaslight. You deny our lived reality. You turn a blind eye to our challenges. You revel in the expediency of telling people that these challenges do not exist or are not as bad as they might seem. You continue to blame the opposition for your failures. And the closer that we get to the election, the more you gaslight the people. The Prime Minister has been going around begging for a third term, Abka. promising that this term will be about the people. And I dare ask then, what were the other 2 terms about? What were the other 2 terms about? The writing is on the wall. The writing is on the wall. And this government has been weighed and found wanting. With every instance, dreams are further deferred. It sounds good to the ear when we hear that side speak, but you can't fool all the people all the time. I again turn to the poet, Langston Hughes, who is obviously one of my favorites, who must have heard the gaslighting efforts. Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like syrup is sweet? We heard some of the disingenuous comments in the House today. And I'm a little bit taken aback that Senator Longmore would have introduced that photograph. I'm a little bit taken aback. Because I believe that there is an effort to be dishonest and divisive and manipulative relating to the sensitivity of race coming from that side, and it must stop. It is disgraceful. It is low. Shame. It is that side who goes on the international scale and speaks of discrimination. Yet you come here with this hateful narrative talking about allegiances when there are people on your side who are not even born here. Shame. And it will not continue. It will not continue. We on this side, we resent and we reject the diatribe that is coming from that side. For us on this side, we have seen the work of Mark Jefferson Golding and what he has done to uplift the masses of this country, and we continue to support him. The word is love. Jamaica is about to evaluate. No.
One. Senator Brown. You can't be doing that, man. But he not say sit down on your ball head. He never tell you that. Senator, sorry, thank you for yielding. Senator.
Point of order, sir. The senator suggested that the member had intention to be dishonest in her submissions. I am very sure that the standing orders forbids or prescribes against imputing pejorative motive to a member of this chamber. I'd suggest, sir, that by suggesting dishonesty on the part of the senator, and the member is in breach of the standing orders, all that the senator said was that it's offensive to the sensibilities of Jamaicans for a white man to have a black man in chains. That's not dishonest, sir. That's a fact. Thank you.
You heard him. Thank you. Senator Morris. Senator Brown, you realize you buy out the presentation? Allow the senator to make our presentation, man. Senator Morris. Senator, thank you. Go ahead. You heard what the senator said, right? Senator Morris.
Jamaica is about to evaluate what you are presenting as progress. We are now deeply contemplating the route our people are being led on in the name of nation building. We must not give the opportunity to perpetuate this governance by gaslight. Jamaica will not. I raise this, and listen to me carefully, because what your lies and insincerity do to an already insecure and fragile nation is dangerous. It erodes the fabric of our nationhood. It breeds mistrust. And all the lazy excuses do is keep you in denial. You fail to face up to your shortcomings, and not facing up to them will only cause you to move more slowly than necessary to solve them. That is exactly what is happening. 62 years. I listened to you. I listened to you. 62 years of independence. We are called upon.
1 minute, Senator. 1 minute, Senator. 1 minute,
We
Senator
are
Morris.
called upon.
Senator Morris, 1 minute. Senator Crawford.
Mr. President, I understand she can take care of herself. But at the same time, Mr. President, we have to allow the speaker to be able to speak. At
Okay.
least for five minutes.
Senator Morris. Senator Crawford, I understand that.
Yes.
Senator Morris, you need some protection from the bench?
I'm
from
fine, Mr. President. I'm fine.
What she said?
I'm fine to continue.
At the
Yes.
same time, members, including Senator Brown, please allow the speaker to continue in peace.
Thank you. 62 years into the project of independence, we are called upon to contemplate our choices, to remain in the bowels of tinkerhood, or to move forward to real change. It is now time, Mr. President. Now is that time for the lip service towards and about our national development to stop. Now, Mr. President, I was not in the chamber for Senator Hill's presentation. I'm really sorry that I missed it.
You don't miss nothing.
But I took the time to listen. Mr. President, I took the time to listen to Senator Hill. Yes. And his attempt to wax lyrical in defense of his party's legacy. And as I listened, I couldn't help but cringe a little bit, because it was filled with so much blame shifting and rhetoric that seemed disconnected from the realities facing our nation. Senator Hill, like many Jamaicans, I'm tired of the blame game and the endless tit for tat. Corruption, as you outlined, is not a matter of political spin. It is a deeply rooted issue that threatens the very foundations of our democracy. It undermines trust in our institutions. It weakens our social fabric. It stalls our nation's progress. And the leader of the opposition, yes, he captured it perfectly. Corruption siphons resources from where they are needed most. It steals from our children's education. It deprives our hospitals of critical supplies and ensures that our roads remain broken. It widens inequality, diverting taxpayers' money to enrich a privileged few instead of benefiting the many. Let us be clear, corruption is not a new issue in Jamaica, but it remains persistent and pervasive, and eradicating it requires more than just lip service. It demands bold, uncompromising action. The Prime Minister himself, and you recall a 2017 video, eloquently emphasizing the importance of accountability. He declared that we cannot be serious about tackling corruption unless we are equally serious about identifying the who, those alleged or proven guilty of corrupt acts. And I want to urge the Prime Minister to stay on that lane, to reflect on his own words, and to act with the integrity those words demand. Senator Longmore and Senator Hill, no matter how you want to spin it, Jamaicans deserve a prime minister whose declarations can stand up to scrutiny and certification. Our people deserve leadership that they can. Leadership that they can trust. It is that simple. It is now time.
Turn it off. Try now.
Testing.
Ah, perfectly good. Excellent. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, very soon, the people of this country will get a chance to decide their destiny for the next 5 years. And it is clear that people want change. They're tired of piecemeal policies handed out by the government to sweet up the electorate on the eve of an election. They're tired of empty promises. Yes, we haven't forgotten those promises of the first 100 days. That is the state of our nation, right here, right now. The Jamaican people deserve a real mix of fiscal discipline, economic development, productivity, social equity, and environmental sustainability. Today's debate provides an opportunity to take stock of our circumstances, to assess the impact of our policies or initiatives and our actions, and to chart a course for the future that will enable us to overcome the challenges that we face. This go-round, it must be ideological. We have to start by assessing our belief systems at their core. Because the truth is, the Jamaican people are tired. Many of them have lost their way. Some simply drop on. We hear the sentiments all the time when we go on the road, Damien. We're not in the politics thing. Nothing not change. And this go-round, we face the reality of seeing Jamaica stand still in the upcoming election. Why? Because many have lost faith. After years of dashed hopes, after years of contending with a system that seems to work against them in many ways, they have come to believe that all that is possible is growth that is low and slow, approaches that are wrong and strong, and systems that favor might over right. This is what we have become accustomed to in the last 9 years. Time comes for a government that will focus on the implementation of policies that will bridge the gap between the privileged and marginalized. Jamaicans deserve a government that will ensure that every Jamaican has a fair shot at success. This is what we on this side believe. Our plans move the needle forward to the benefit of all, not just some. Moving our plans definitively from the principles of trickle-down economics, which have failed to deliver the prosperity to the masses, is our aim. Time has come.
Leader.
Mr. President, the Speaker's time having expired, might be sufficient to complete.
Thank you very much. The question is that the Speaker's time be extended to allow her to complete her presentation. Those in favor? Thank you very much. Senator Morris. So I noticed that the clock is running up there now. So for future reference, it's not working on that side, but it's working over here.
Okay. I'll bear that in mind.
Oh, both sides is working. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Let me just take the 120 motion now as well, so I don't interrupt you again. Leader?
Might the Senate be permitted to sit beyond 1:30 to complete the business of the day?
Thank you very much. Members would have heard the question. Those in favor? All yours, Senator Morris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I want to shift to talking a little bit about values. Jamaica, as I said, is known for its vibrant culture. And every speaker who's in this house has at some point acknowledged that we are people of resilient spirit. We have to, though, acknowledge that some cracks have begun to erode the foundations of our national identity. And the values that once described us, once defined us, hard work, integrity, independence, and respect, have somehow been overshadowed by troubling norms, such as this dunce culture. We hear it in the music, the normalization of violence. These shifts threaten not just our social fabric, but our economic and national development. And all of this, I believe, is grounded in strengthening and promoting Jamaican culture. This is why many of our young people work and operate. The plan for culture on this side, it is grounded in solidifying who we are and who we want to be. To do this, we must invest in our culture and its expressions, nurture greatness, use the cultural norms to achieve our sustainable development goals, and go for growth. We will present good governance for the cultural sector. Most of all, we'll be grounding our culture locally and taking it further globally. How then can we fail if we do this? These are the plans that we have that will take us to where we want our state of the nation to be. If we want to build a Jamaica where every citizen has the opportunity to thrive, we must reset our values and attitudes. A society rooted in hard work and independence fosters productivity, innovation, and resilience. Respect and integrity build trust and collaboration, essential for thriving democracy and economy. Changing the values and attitudes of a nation is no small task, we agree, but it is critical to unlocking Jamaica's full potential. The eternal question for us, though, is how? How? This, I believe, requires a multifaceted approach anchored in education, engagement, and leadership to reignite discipline and accountability, and a collective commitment to progress. The plans and programs in social transformation, culture, and citizen security that we have been engaged in provides answers to that question. We all know what needs to be done, but we are now focused on how, and we look forward to sharing that with Jamaica at just the right time. One of the critical pieces of that puzzle is the engagement of our young people. Mr. President, one of the greatest disservices that we have done to youth is selling them a dream that work hard, be on your best behavior, education will carry you through and guarantee success. But the reality for many of our young people is far different. Yes, unemployment remains a challenge, even with the data that we're seeing. But it is underemployment, working hard but barely earning enough to survive, that is robbing many of our young people of the dignity and of hope and of the possibility of thriving. The reality is felt acutely in industries like the BPO sector, where many workers, most of them young people, have to endure long hours. They have precarious contracts and limited job security, only to see job cuts erode what little stability they already had. Time come for a renewed focus on worker rights, ensuring that all Jamaicans have access to fair wages, safe working conditions, and opportunities for advancement. It is not enough to just create jobs. Yes, it is good, but we must have meaningful, sustainable employment that allows our youth to build lives of independence and prosperity. In particular, what we would like to see is a framework for independent workers and those in the gig economy, those seen as informal in the changing world of work. That is something that we need, a framework. Many of them are young people who are looking at more novel ways of working, moving outside of the traditional framework. We have to engage them. Moreover, when we look at some of these sectors that remain unstable, especially for our young people, we see that they don't have access to health insurance, pension, paid leave, and this further exacerbates the vulnerabilities faced by young employees. Requiring employers to provide these benefits would not only improve the quality of life for workers, but also contribute to long-term economic stability for families. Additionally, ensuring that young people have a platform to voice their concerns and advocate for real change in the workplace is increasingly essential. Mr. President, the youth of Jamaica are not looking for handouts. Many of them are just looking for opportunities.
You don't describe
They want a fair chance to succeed, to live in dignity, and to build lives that they can be proud of. These interconnected initiatives, rooted in values, community inclusion, and empowerment, will address the immediate challenges facing our youth, but also renew their faith in the promise of Jamaica. By investing in their development, by protecting their rights, by fostering an environment of opportunity, we can ensure that their deferred dreams become realized ambitions. This is the direction that Jamaica must take, and time comes to make it a reality. The time for empty promises is over. Our youth need bold, comprehensive action to address the challenges they face. My repeated calls over the years, Mr. President, for a national values and attitudes campaign has reached its use-by date. No more time to wait for the government to do its job. We have developed the policies, plans, and programs to once again instill respect, integrity, and civic pride among young Jamaicans, emphasizing the importance of hard work, accountability, and community building. We want this campaign to be complemented by robust safe sex and sexual education initiatives in schools and communities, because we have to address issues like teenage pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections to equip our youth with knowledge to make responsible choices. These interventions must also take into account conflict management. Now I want to focus a little bit on community-based interventions, because communities or community development must be a cornerstone of our vision of change. In Northwest St. Anne, we want to become a model constituency for community engagement. As I walk through our towns, our communities, the message from our people is clear. They want better opportunities, especially for their children, for their grandchildren. Far too many young people in Northwest St. Anne are searching for purpose, while many of our community centers and spaces for young people to gather remain closed, covered in bush, and underutilized. This is the same across the country, and it cannot continue. Our program of re-engagement of youth must focus, Senator Crawford, on revitalizing our youth clubs and re-establishing community homework centers. These centers must ideally be located in our schools, which are already equipped to host these interventions. They will provide critical educational support for children in need. In Northwest St. Anne as well, Mr. President, we're committed to continuing the transformative Second Chance initiative, which is something that we hope will be replicated across the country. This was introduced by then MP Dayton Campbell in 2012. Now, what we aim to do through the program is to give individuals, both young and old, the opportunity to achieve certification through high trust, along with the attainment of 5 CXC subjects. It will also offer grants for young entrepreneurs, along with capacity building. This initiative represents our commitment to advancing lives and creating new, diverse pathways for success. Another pressing priority that I cannot sit and not mention is affordable and accessible housing. When it was announced, while it was announced, I believe last year by the Prime Minister, that steps were taken to reserve some of the housing stock for young people under 35, we have to go further, because we still have a challenge of young people being able to afford the housing solutions that are on the market. And so we have to put in place innovative plans and approaches, such as a rent-to-own program and housing cooperatives, yes, Senator Crawford, to make home ownership achievable, more achievable for young Jamaicans.
Remember, I can write every speech over there.
Inclusion must also be an important pillar as we seek to build a country that takes into consideration people from all walks of life. I spoke earlier about the challenge of food insecurity and how it affects our children, our young people. Hunger should never be a barrier for education. And a few weeks ago, I moved a motion for the implementation of a national school nutrition policy, advocating for healthy, affordable food options for students who are most in need. To make this vision a reality, we see value in partnership between the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, and local farmers by collaborating with CASE and other agricultural stakeholders. We want to see the rollout of a national school feeding policy that ensures that every child receives a nutritious meal daily, bridging the gap between classroom learning and healthy living. We've been saying to be implemented for a number of years now, and all we are asking is for it to be implemented once and for all. Just do it.
And bring your motion to the floor. Tell them to bring the motion.
And bring the motion so that we can debate it and move forward. That's all we are asking. That's all we are asking. Lovely. Mr. President, one of my final points revolves around rural development. Rural Jamaica has long been the backbone of our nation's economy, culture, and identity. Yet, rural communities remain underserved and overlooked. In Northwest St. Anne, the challenges are glaring: poorly maintained roads, limited access to water, and insufficient support for our farmers who continue to work tirelessly to feed the nation. If Jamaica is to move forward, then rural development must be a national priority. And I'm proud to hear that the next government will prioritize rural development. Good roads, Mr. President, they are lifelines in rural communities, connecting farmers to markets, children to schools, and residents to essential services. In Northwest St. Anne and other rural communities across the country, crumbling infrastructure has left too many communities cut off from opportunities and out of reach. Our people are bitterly complaining of thousands spent fixing their vehicles, the front end gone, and the lack of reliable public transportation and exorbitant taxi fares due to the state of the road. There are many people who face challenges getting emergency services because the road is that bad. The next government has committed to re-establishing a road maintenance fund, or re-establishing a road maintenance fund that will support rehabilitation of the road network across the country. Yes, I'm talking about that same road maintenance fund that was shut down in 2017. This fund also has to prioritize communities that has been neglected for far too long. We can't simply be patching the roads every time. We have to ensure that our roads are built to last, designed to withstand weather conditions, which we are familiar with in rural Jamaica, and are maintained over time. This is what we need to see, Mr. President. Agricultural development as well is key to unlocking economic growth in rural Jamaica. And we must do more to empower farmers. We must do more to ensure that they have the resources and the support to thrive. The next government, we have committed to providing training, access to modern farming technology, and affordable financing to encourage innovation and sustainability in the agricultural sector. We want to look specifically at women farmers who are critical to food production in rural Jamaica. We want them to benefit from targeted programs that provide grants, technical support, and access to land. Additionally, we want to work to strengthen our agricultural cooperatives and expand opportunities for rural farmers to access local and international markets, ensuring that they receive fair prices for their produce. Access to water. It remains one of the most pressing challenges for rural communities. In fact, Mr. President, in Northwest St. Anne, I hear the cries too often. Too many families are still relying on inconsistent water supply. forcing them to have to purchase water sometime with exorbitant cost. The next government has committed to investing in modern water infrastructure, such as reservoirs, wells, and rainwater harvesting systems. We will also work with community organizations to ensure sustainable water management practices, because we have to teach our people to take care of the resources that they have. Many rural communities, we're looking forward, you know, Senator, forward. And we're ready to do the work. Many rural communities as well rely on clinics as the main source of health care. In Northwest Sentan, for example, I've already lamented the state of the clinics, especially those in Runaway Bay and Bamboo. Yes. The promised updates since that time still have not come.
Absolutely.
And another suggestion that I want to place on the table that is ideal especially for rural communities is to adopt the preventative healthcare model that we see being practiced in countries such as Cuba. And we hear mention of some of the preventative techniques that are being used. But all we're asking is to broaden the scope. Let us increase the number of community health aides and provide mobile health clinics. Let us do more. I did the math. And we're agreeing, but that is, listen, the paper. That is almost one aid. No, hold on. You've had enough time. That's almost what? 1,000 patients, 1,000 plus patients to one aid. And what we're saying, we're grateful for the increase.
She spoke because of no moment. You are the one who's starring.
Mr. President, I believe we are all agreeing on the point. We're all agreeing on the point that there is merit. There is merit in us using this model of preventative health care to bring hope to the most remote areas of rural Jamaica. Mr. President, the future of Jamaica, I believe, depends on unlocking the potential of our rural communities. By investing in roads, agriculture, and water, the next government, we will improve the quality of life for people. Rural development cannot continue to be an afterthought. It is necessary for building a more inclusive, prosperous, and resilient Jamaica. In closing, we stand at a defining crossroads in our history. For far too long, the dreams of our people have been deferred. Far too many families have struggled in silence, yearning for a better tomorrow. That time is over because people time come. The young woman that I met in Brownstown who dreams of opening her own business. The farmer in Hazelwood working tirelessly to feed his family.
Yes, man.
The child in Tracy who dreams of becoming the first in the family to get a university education.
Absolutely.
The taxi operator in retirement, who is overwhelmed by the cost of front-end parts and dreams of better roads. These are the people who drive my commitment. And they deserve much better.
Absolutely.
Hope, I dare say, is on the way. A new dawn is rising in this country. It is a dawn where every child will have access to opportunity, where every young person can feel empowered to pursue their dreams, and where every elder can rest easy, knowing that they're cherished and taken care of. I believe in the strength and resilience of Jamaicans. I believe in the creativity that lives in the minds of our people. The perseverance of our workers and the unyielding spirit of our communities. Together, we will transform dreams deferred into dreams fulfilled. We must dare to imagine a future where no child goes to bed hungry, where no young person feels that their potential is being wasted here, and where no elder is left wondering if their contributions mattered because they can't get the health care that they deserve. This is the Jamaica that we can and will build. Let us rise as one people with one vision, determined to fulfill the promise of independence. Let us step boldly into the future, guided not by fear, but by hope and certainty that our best days as a country are ahead of us. Absolutely. The time is now, and the hour is here. Together, we are moving forward, leaving no one behind. Let us change the state of our nation today to one we want for ourselves. That choice of change rests with us, and together we will make it. Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, see, I'm ready to go.
Practice.
I want to close with the words of our poet laureate, Lorna Goodison, who responds to the question, how far is it to heart ease? Believe, believe, and believe this, that I know how far heart ease is. Mr. President, heart ease is right around the corner. With good choices, heart ease, time come.
Thank you very much, Leader. Senator Morris. Senator Morris, thank you very much. Thank you. Leader.
Mr. President, may I thank our contributors to the State of the Nation for their interventions today and ask for suspension of the State of the Nation debate.
The question is that the State of the Nation debate be suspended for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
And I will speak next week.
It is not intended to do any further business today. Might the Senate be adjourned for a date to be fixed?
Thank you very much. Just one brief announcement. The meeting that I had proposed with the Integrity Commission, it is proposed to have it next week, Friday at 9 o'clock, subject to the availability of the officer from the Integrity Commission, and everyone is invited to that meeting. It will be held under the time usually reserved for the Standing Orders Committee. So the Standing Orders Committee is inviting everybody to join us then. The ladies from St. Anne's Bay, from St. Anne's, make sure you drive carefully and go over. And if you are in the driver is there, well, you try and make sure you carry the people them safe here, and don't bother with the racing on the road. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. Always nice to see you. And when you get a chance, you come back to see us again, okay? Thank you very much.
All right. Come back and we will be over there the next time.
This meeting of the Honorable Senate is adjourned for a date to be fixed.
All right, Father. Blessings. You did very well. All right.
A good driver, Senator Morris. A good driver. Lots of practice there.
We have time.